Hi everybody, let's talk about interval notation and inequalities in Mobius. Mobius doesn't have a symbol for infinity in most of the classes that we use, so you are going to have to actually type the word infinity when you want to put it in your answer. That means that an interval, like close bracket 5 to infinity, will be entered as a close bracket, the number 5, comma, and then the word infinity spelled out with an open parenthesis at the end. Anything touching infinity is going to be open because infinity doesn't stop. So look at the other way, negative infinity to negative 3. I would enter that as open parenthesis, negative sign, the word infinity spelled out, comma, negative 3. Again, this time I used a closed parenthesis. I'm going to take an example straight from the homework. It says solve the inequality 5x minus 12 is less than or equal to 13. It does say enter the exact answer in interval notation. To enter infinity, type infinity. For example, if x less than or equal to 2 is your answer, you must enter open parenthesis, negative, word infinity, comma, 2, close bracket. Let's go through the steps we would use to solve this inequality. So I have 5x minus 12 less than or equal to 13. I'm adding 12 to both sides, which says 5x is less than or equal to 25. Divide by 5 on both sides, and we get x less than or equal to 5. Where it says exact answer, that means if you get a fraction, put in a fraction. What you don't want to do is turn the fraction into a decimal. If it has repeating decimals, say like 1/3 would be 0.333, you would want to keep the fraction. So anytime you see that word exact means keep the fraction, don't approximate anything. So we have this x less than or equal to 5 as our answer. I like to kind of graph it really quick just to see what it's doing. I really only need to put 5 in, and I see this arrow pointing to the left, so I am going to shade to the left to say that's where my answer is. So I can see it's coming from negative infinity, it's going to 5, and it's going to have a hard stop, which means it has this square bracket. It faces where the shading is, so the shading is to the left, so the bracket is going to go to the left, and this is the answer I want to put into Mobius. Open parenthesis, negative sign, the word infinity, comma, 5, close bracket, and then hit how did I do? Let's try another one. I have the sum of an integer and 11 more than half of this integer is at most 62. What's the maximum value of the integer? Start where it says the sum of an integer. Integer means we have a variable. I'm going to use x. Then we have 11 more than half of the integer. So again, I see the word integer and I put in a variable. This time it's half of that variable, so I have a half of x. Then I have this word at most. So at most means it's going to be smaller. So I want to put in less than or equal to. Now there's a little bit more to fill in there. We had this word sum, which means I'm adding. So the sum of an integer, so x plus, it says 11 more than, there's another sum, 11 plus. So I have x plus 11 plus a half of x is less than or equal to 62. X plus 11 plus a half of x is less than or equal to 62. You have some choices here on how you want to do this math. You can add a half of x to x, but if you don't like to work with fractions, you could get rid of the fraction as your starting place. To get rid of the half, I would multiply the left by 2, which means I also multiply the right by 2. When you do this, remember to multiply everything by 2. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 11 is 22. 2 times a half of x, well that 2 cancels the half, so I just have x. And then this is less than or equal to 124. Now 2x plus x is 3x. I still have the 22, which is less than or equal to 124. I'm going to subtract 22 from both sides, which says 3x is less than or equal to 102. Now that 3x is less than or equal to 102, I divide by 3. I have x less than or equal to, 3 goes into 10 3 times. That leaves me with a 12. 3 goes into 12 4 times. So my answer, x is less than or equal to 34. Let's go back to the question. The question says the maximum value of the integer is, so we're only going to put in 34 in this case. So here's the question in Mobius. I'm up on the blank. I put in 34. I push how did I do? As a final example, I have solved the inequality 2/3 minus 2 is greater than or equal to 1/6 of x plus 2. The directions say use less than, greater than, less than equal to, or greater than equal to define the inequality. For example, if the solution is x greater than or equal to 5, you must enter x, the greater than sign, an equal sign, and then the number 5. If the solution is x less than 4, then you enter x less than 4. Let's give ourselves a little more room. I have 2/3 of x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 1/6 of x plus 2. To start off, I want to get rid of the fraction. I have a 3 and a 6. But since 6 is really 3 times 2, multiplying by 6 will clear both the 3 and the 6. So I have 6 times 2/3 of x minus 2 greater than or equal to 6 times 1/6 of x plus 2. I will write this the long way, so 6 times 2 over 3 times x minus 6 times 2 greater than or equal to 6 times 1/6 of x plus 6 times 2. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4, so my first term is 4x. 6 times 2 gives me 12, greater than or equal to. 6 cancel 6, I have x, plus 6 times 2 is 12. I'm going to move the x to the left, which gives me 3x minus 12, greater than or equal to, I just have a 12. Let's add 12 to both sides. I have 3x is greater than or equal to 24. Divide by 3, divide by 3, x is greater than or equal to 8. The directions this time are not to write your answer as an interval, but to enter this as an inequality. So in Mobius, I hit x, I hit greater than, I push equal to, I put 8, and I say, how did I do? Make sure you take the time to read the directions that are given. Lots of hints have been given on notation to help you out as you're going, so just remember to make sure you're paying attention to them. They're there to help you out.